going back to the widget effect, have you ever been in a teaching situation, where you felt like your professional development wasn't respected and that you were seen like as a interchangeable part?
I can't think of a specific time.
Yeah, because I haven't been like in a classroom. Like I haven't had many teaching experiences in an actual classroom, but I think just with the whole widget effect in general, I think it can be because obviously teachers do carry their own perspectives and their own strengths, and so I think just saying that each teacher is the same, it also doesn't allow teachers' unique qualities to also be expressed. And I feel like um, when professionals go into a teacher's classroom, they shouldn't like try to compare each teacher to one another, but actually see, how are they cultivating this classroom to embrace each student's needs and different learning styles. And so I feel like each classroom in itself is so unique, and so there's going to be different experiences in every single one. But I can't pinpoint an exact time where I would feel that. But have you, Emilia?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
When they said that, I was like, oh my goodness. But, it's just, I wanted to get your perspectives on it, just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
June, you just made a really great point too about like teachers and every classroom being different, because my teacher that I worked with would say that all the time, like depending on the students in her class, or like for instance coronavirus and the pandemic, like everything was so different than how she would normally do things. So she's like, I really hate for anybody to watch me as like a first year teacher, because everything's so different. She's like, I wouldn't do things this way, like, as I would 5 years ago or however. And of course, like, students do make a huge difference too. You never know what they need.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's like really important, like what you both said about teachers being different. Like I am in a daycare right now. I work in a daycare, so it's 6 months to 5 years. So it's not technically like a classroom, but like a grade school classroom. But I started here when I was 17. And I did notice that because I was so young, I wasn't taken very seriously, which was hard because when I first started, I was an assistant teacher under somebody, and then when I was 18, I got my own classroom for the summer, so I was like a lead teacher. We do lesson plans, we do normal stuff like that, cognitive skills, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this just kind of reminded me of like, I feel like people are looked down upon if they're too old or too young, and now that so many like young teachers are coming in, it's like push the old ones out. But this is why I think it's so important that we talk about collaboration. Like the teachers I've been working with, I just did tutoring at McMichael. She was old enough to be my mom, and she had so much to give me, like so much I did not know about classrooms. She has been in the classroom for longer than I was alive, so she had so much more to give me. And I feel like it's not, kind of like what you're both saying, it's not fair to really judge, to compare teachers, because you're going to have a teacher in their first year, you're going to have a very old teacher, you have teachers who are more laid back, more strict, but if their students are succeeding, if their students are happy, if they're getting it done, I feel like that's like they shouldn't be compared in evaluation like that. And I was also looking at another article, the one about mapping teacher evaluation. um, and kind of like what I talked about earlier, this said that they use standardized tests, they use students standardized test scores to evaluate teachers, and that if their students aren't doing good, their folder will get flagged or something like that, even though that has no representation of them. So it says here, teacher evaluation systems across the country continue to include teacher observation as a dominant feature. So kind of just going back to that, and I really like June, I think you said it, like doing this, once a week, once a month, not just popping in once every semester, making this a routine thing that you do, because the whole point of the question we're answering today is how to help the education system. Coming in one time, sitting in the back of the classroom, giving feedback, that's not going to help a teacher. it'll probably just make them very upset that there's so many things wrong in their classroom. But, if so many things are wrong, then you continuously, once a week come in and help them with something else, try something else with them. And that's going to stick with them forever. Instead of just telling them what's wrong, giving them direct feedback, you want to show them how to change it. You want to give them the skills and the tools so that next year, they still have that to keep going. They don't make these same mistakes. So I just liked how this article said that observations becoming like a big feature in teacher evaluation, because it's the same thing with students, like you don't want to just grade them based on their test. You want to see what they can perform, what they can do, what they can say. You want to see how their brain works. I think the best way to evaluate a teacher is to sit in their classroom and see how they interact with students, see what they do, see, how much fun their students are having, if their students are catching on, see if they're doing formative assessments, just stuff like that.
I think I like what you brought up about how, or like your experience about how when you entered your daycare when you were really, really young, and how some of the other professionals would kind of look down on you. But I think I read in the Center for American Progress, but it mentioned how improving teaching does not necessarily come from teaching longer, and experience does not lead directly to better instruction, but it is really about just enhancing skills, knowing strategies, and understanding content. And how to teach students is something that should be addressed more often. And I think the things that we're learning right now are obviously different from what teachers in classrooms right now have learned when they were in college. And so I think being able to bring that new knowledge into schools, just about integrated instruction and like critical literacy, is so important. And I feel like having that collaboration aspect is also really important. And I think that's why I'm glad that the ESS, is it ESSA or is it ESSA? ESSA? But ESSA,
but yeah.
but I think that's why I think the ESSA has improved the education system, because there is more district control or more local control for schools to have more observation within the classroom and not so much reliance on accountability and student test scores. But I think there still is a prevalence of that pressure for teachers to, like, quote unquote teach to the test. And I feel like that still is within schools, because my younger sister right now is in high school, and she still talks about how she hates standardized testing and just like AP tests and all that. And so yeah, I feel like even though the ESSA has changed certain things within our education system, I think there is still this pressure on teachers to just focus their curriculum just on having their students get the score rather than actually enjoying the learning process. And so yeah, I think even with that relates to professional development, because teachers should constantly be trying to find ways where they can actually make the classroom feel more lively, I guess, and actually let students enjoy what they're learning. And so I feel like there should be this balance between actually observing student test scores, but also observing their physical actions and conversations and authentic learning experiences. And so
I really liked kind of when you were talking about my experience that you read somewhere that, longer doesn't mean better. And it still just kind of reminded me about, so like when I started, I worked in the summer and I was an assistant teacher under another teacher, and she taught me so much. She taught me how to do everything, how to effectively communicate with parents. I had no experience before that. I didn't know how to, talk to parents about behavioral issues, academic issues. This was way pre-COVID, so the parents could like come in the classroom and I got to meet them. Now that doesn't happen anymore. And then the next year I got my own classroom, and I remember hearing, all women work here and it's a lot of drama working with all women. So I remembered hearing, oh, she's so young, like, why does she have a classroom? And it's just reminding me of what you said. I haven't been there for long, but I was under a skilled teacher that taught me a lot. And I think that's more important than someone who's been here 10 years, but kind of just hasn't been trying to improve and try new things. And time has changed since COVID, but I'm still constantly, I've been working here since I stayed home from school, and we're constantly implementing new things. We have new curriculums, we have a new summer calendar with new themes, and we're incorporating so much stuff. And I've moved into an older classroom, so I'm learning a lot more. And I think it's so important being mentored or teaching under or teaching with skilled teachers versus, like you said, someone could be there for a long time, but they might have old, like, traditional methods and ways of teaching. So yeah, I just like that point you brought up.
Yeah. I was actually reading another article, and it was discussing how much money